Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we will be looking at AQA Level Psychology Specimen 3 Paper 2 Exemplar Answers for Research Methods, which you need to know for AQA Level Psychology. I hope you enjoy this video and find it helpful. Let's get started. Please note that these answers have been produced with knowledge of the mark scheme but have not been approved by the mark scheme themselves. There are 3 assessment objectives, AOs, in psychology. In this video they are color-coded. AO1 Knowledge, purple. AO2 Application, blue. AO3 Evaluation, red and green. Read the item and then answer the questions that follow. Following previous research indicating the social benefits of green space in urban areas, 2 psychology students decided to observe social behavior in public spaces. They focused on 2 neighboring towns, Greensville where most public spaces were planted with flowers and vegetables, and Brownton where most public spaces were paved with concrete. The students compared the instances of considerate behaviors in the 2 towns. Considerate behavior categories included putting litter in the bin, having a dog on a lead and riding a bike with care. The observations were carried out in 4 different areas of a similar size in each town on weekdays between the hours of 4:30 p.m. and 6 o'clock p.m. The students worked together to ensure inter-observer reliability, recording each target behavior whenever it occurred. Question 1. Should the hypothesis for this research be directional or non-directional? Explain your answer. 2 marks. The hypothesis should be directional because there is past research indicating the likely direction of the effect. Question 2. Before the observation could begin, the students needed to operationalize the behavior category riding a bike with care. Explain what is meant by operationalization and suggest 2 ways in which riding a bike with care could have been operationalized. 4 marks. Operationalization involves clearly specifying and defining observable behaviors that represent the more general construct under investigation and enable the behavior under investigation to be measured. 2 observable behaviors that could represent riding a bike with care are using a cycle lanes and passing pedestrians at a distance of at least 1 meter. Question 3. The students thought that having a dog on a lead was a useful measure of considerate behavior because it had face validity. Explain what is meant by face validity in this context. 3 marks. Face validity is where a behavior appears at first sight, on the face of it, to represent what is being measured. Having a dog on a lead appears at first glance to be measuring considerate behavior because if a dog is on a lead it is less likely to upset other people by coming close, frightening, chasing, biting, growling, etc. Question 4. Identify and briefly outline 2 other types of validity in psychological research. 4 marks. Concurrent validity is the extent to which a new measure correlates highly with the performance on an already well-established and valid measure, criterion, of the same construct, when both are administered at the same time. Measuring concurrent validity involves identifying a well-established, validated measure, criterion, that assesses the same construct as the new measure you want to validate, administering both the new measure and the established criterion measure to a sample of participants at the same time or within a short time frame and calculate the correlation coefficient between the scores on the new measure and the scores on the established criterion measure. The strength of concurrent validity is measured by the correlation between the new test and established test, with higher correlations indicating stronger concurrent validity. Ecological validity is the extent to which findings from a research study can be generalized to real-world settings and environments. Factors that affect the ecological validity include artificiality of the research setting, e.g. laboratory experiments, Hawthorne effect and simplified task and stimuli, lack of attention to contextual factors, e.g. ignoring environmental influences, overlooking cultural differences, norms, values and beliefs, and neglecting the dynamic nature of behavior, mismatch between research goals and application contexts, e.g. testing abstract constructs versus real-world problems, emphasis on internal Validity at the expense of external validity, e.g., establishing a causal relationship between variables, lack of relevance to stakeholders, e.g., practitioners, policymakers, or community members, and failure to consider social and ethical implications. Question 5. Identify the behavior sampling method used by the students. Shade 1 box only. 1 mark. A time sampling. B pair sampling. C event sampling. D target sampling. C event sampling. Question 6. Explain how inter-observer reliability could be ensured by working as a pair. 3 marks. The student pair should discuss and agree beforehand their interpretation of the behavioral categories. Each student should then observe the same people at the same time but record and tally independently. Their respective recordings and tallies should be correlated using an appropriate statistical test to ascertain the level of agreement. The data for considerate behaviors is shown in Table 1. Question 7. The students noted that overall more considerate behaviors occurred in Greensville than in Brownton. Calculate the ratio of considerate behaviors observed in Greensville to considerate behaviors observed in Brownton. Show your workings and present your answer in the simplest form. 3 marks. 23 plus 12 plus 19 is equal to 54 and 10 plus 17 plus 9 is equal to 36. 54 to 36 both divisible by 9, or 18. 54 divided by 9 is equal to 6 and 36 divided by 9 is equal to 4. 6 to 4 can be simplified to 3 to 2. Question 8. The students carried out a chi-square test on their data. Explain why the chi-square test was an appropriate test to use in this case. 3 marks. The chi-square test was an appropriate test to use in this case because the data is nominal. The students are looking for a difference or an association between two variables and the design is independent groups. In order to interpret the results of the chi-square test, the students first needed to work out the degrees of freedom. They used the following formula. Degrees of freedom, df, equals R1, x, C1. R equals number of rows and C equals number of columns. Question 9. Calculate the degrees of freedom for the data in Table 1. Show your workings. 2 marks. 2 minus 1, multiplied by 3 minus 1, equals 1 multiplied by 2 is equal to 2. Question 10. The calculated value of chi-square was 6.20. Referring to Table 2 below, state whether or not the result of the chi-square test is significant at the 0.05 level of significance. Justify your answer. 3 marks. Yes, the result is significant because the calculated value of chi-square is more than the critical table value at the 0.05 level of significance and is one-tailed, being consistent with the hypothesis, and df equals 2, so therefore the critical value is 4.60. Question 11. In the discussion section of their report of the investigation, the students wanted to further discuss their results in relation to levels of significance. Write a short paragraph the students could use to do this. 4 marks. Levels of significance are used to measure the influence of chance or random factors on research findings. In statistical hypothesis testing, the level of significance, denoted by alpha, is the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when it is actually true. The null hypothesis assumes that there is no real effect or relationship in the population, and any observed effect is due to random chance. The level of significance helps researchers determine whether the results are likely due to a real effect or simply due to random variation. A smaller alpha value indicates a stricter criterion for rejecting the null hypothesis, reducing the risk of a false positive, type 1 error. Researchers commonly use significance levels of 0.05, 5%, 0.01, 1%, or 0.001, 0.1%, depending on the field of study and the desired level of certainty. With the present results, there is a 95% confidence in accepting the research hypothesis, with confidence that any difference and effect is due to the variables under investigation, in this case the location of the public spaces. There is a 5% possibility that the same frequencies would occur if there was no real difference between the two towns. The calculated value in this case well exceeds the critical value at 0.05 but does not meet the more stringent level of significance of 0.01. There is a possibility of type 1 error. Question 12. As a follow-up to their observation, the students decided to interview some of their peers about inconsiderate behaviors in their sixth form center. The interviews were recorded. Explain how the students could develop their interview findings by carrying out a content analysis and why content analysis would be appropriate in this case. 3 marks. Content analysis is suitable because the students are analyzing recordings which are a form of media. Students could identify specific ideas and concepts that occur in the recordings. They could then set up a system of categories and tally the ideas and concepts. Question 13. Suggest one inconsiderate behavior that the students might focus on in their content analysis. 1 mark. One inconsiderate behavior could be leaving rubbish. Question 14. Design an experiment to investigate the effect of indoor plants on mood in office workers. For your measure of mood, you should devise a measure that would give data suitable for testing at the ordinal level of measurement. In your answer, you should provide details of design, include reference to the experimental design, variables, and controls. Materials apparatus, describe any special materials required. Data analysis that could be used, include reference to descriptive and inferential analysis. Justify your choices. 12 marks. Experimental design, repeated measures design. Each participant experiences both conditions, with plants and without plants. This design is efficient because each person acts as their own control, reducing variability due to individual differences. Independent variable, for presence or absence of indoor plants in the office environment. Dependent variable, DV mood, measured using an ordinal scale, more on this below. Controls. Duration, run the study for a set period, e.g., 2 weeks per condition, to allow mood to stabilize. Environmental variables, keep office heating, lighting, noise levels, and ventilation consistent across both conditions. Plant type, use the same type and number of plants in each plant condition to keep that consistent. Order effects, randomize the order in which participants experience the conditions, some do plants first, others do no plants first, to control for order effects. Materials apparatus. Indoor plants, healthy, visually appealing plants appropriate for an office environment. Mood rating scale, a self-devised rating scale to measure mood on an ordinal level. For example, how would you rate your mood right now? Circle 1. 1 equals very unhappy. 2 equals unhappy. 3 equals neutral. 4 equals happy. 5 equals very happy. Data analysis. Descriptive statistics. Median, calculate the median mood rating for each condition, with plants and without plants. Range, calculate the range of mood ratings for each condition. Inferential statistics. Wilcoxon-Signed-Rank test. Use this test to compare the mood ratings between the with plants and without plants conditions. This test is suitable for repeated measures designs with ordinal data. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Bye.